My name is Marin, and just over a year ago, I sat at a beautifully set table, surrounded by the clink of wine glasses and the soft glow of candles, thinking I was honoring my mother, Vera, on her 64th birthday. I'd spent hours preparing her favorite poached salmon, the kind with lemon butter that she always raved about, paired with roasted carrots and a peach tart I'd baked from scratch. The table was draped in her favorite floral linen, the one with frayed edges she'd tease me about but secretly loved. But that night, as she raised her glass and looked straight into my eyes, she didn't thank me. She didn't smile. She smirked and said, "To aging without baggage. And to finally having a life free of dead weight." Her gaze locked on mine, sharp as a blade. The room went still. I felt my chest tighten, like the air had been sucked out of the house. But this story isn't about that moment. It's about what I did next, how I turned her betrayal into the quietest, most satisfying revenge I could have imagined. If you've ever poured your heart into someone only to have them throw it back in your face, you're going to want to hear this. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into my story. The table was set for 6 that night. Vera sat at the head, her posture rigid, her silver hair catching the candlelight. To her left was June, her bridge partner, who always smelled faintly of lavender perfume. To her right was our cousin Lori, who'd driven an hour just to be there. 2 neighbors who'd known me since I was a gangly teenager filled out the seats. I'd spent the day fussing over every detail, the way the carrots gleamed under a drizzle of honey, the way the tart's crust flaked just right. I wanted it to feel like love, like family. I wanted to believe this year might be different, softer, maybe even kind. I poured the wine, my hand steady despite the familiar knot in my stomach. Vera had a way of making every moment feel like a test, and I'd spent decades trying to pass it. Her toast came mid-dinner. The words landed like a slap, her voice clear and deliberate. "To aging without baggage," she said, swirling her wine. "And to finally having a life free of dead weight." She looked at me, her eyes gleaming with something cruel, something practiced. June coughed softly, her napkin pressed to her lips. Lori's fork hung in the air, carrots untouched. The neighbors stared at their plates, their silence louder than words. I blinked once, then twice, feeling my face burn. I didn't ask her to repeat it. I didn't want to hear it again. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood, and excused myself with a smile that felt borrowed. In the kitchen, I ran my hands under cold water until my fingers went numb, the sound of the faucet drowning out the hum of their voices. I grabbed my coat from the hook and left without a word. That night, I sat in my dim kitchen, still in my coat, staring at the untouched peach tart on the counter. The sink was piled with wine-stained glasses, half-rinsed, abandoned. I could still see her sitting there, back straight, eyes smug, her words looping in my head. Had she rehearsed that line? Or had it just slipped out, sharp and instinctive? I thought of all the birthdays before, me as a kid, sewing clumsy gifts by hand, or as an adult, decorating her porch with candles, each year hoping for a scrap of approval she never gave. I'd spent my life trying to earn something she never planned to offer. The next morning, I opened my journal to a blank page. My pen hovered, hesitant, like it was waiting for permission. Memories flooded in uninvited. I was 26 when I dropped out of grad school. Vera had slipped on ice and fractured her hip. "You're all I have," she'd said over the phone, her voice thin and fragile, but sharp enough to cut. I could still see my professor's face fall when I told him I wouldn't finish the semester. "Take a leave," he'd urged. I nodded, but I never went back. I moved into her house that week, thinking it was temporary. Years blurred into appointments, errands, groceries, medications. I took a job at a local library, flexible hours to stay close. I dated quietly, never seriously, dodging questions about my future like they were accusations. Vera reshaped the house over time, painting over my favorite yellow hallway, swapping warm kitchen tiles for cold gray ones. "It's modern," she'd said. I let her throw out the chair I'd bought with my first paycheck, laughed when she called it tacky. I said yes to every small no, convincing myself it didn't matter. It was still home. But that morning, staring at the blank page. I saw it clearly. It wasn't devotion. It was disappearance. A slow unraveling until I couldn't tell where I ended and her demands began. My pen finally moved. I gave up so much, trying not to make her feel alone. But I never asked if I was allowed to want more than surviving her. The ink bled into the paper. I tore out the page, folded it, and tucked it away. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind paced, replaying every moment I should have spoken up, drawn a line, chosen myself. I made tea in the morning, but didn't drink it. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote one sentence. I have been edited out of my own life. The words hit harder on paper than in my chest. I underlined them, then made a list, joint accounts, the house deed, my passwords on her notepad. I circled what needed to change first. I called the bank, scheduled an appointment, and found a lawyer named Tomas Reyes, 2 towns over. His name felt solid, like it could hold weight. I told no one, not Lori, not the neighbors, not Vera. This wasn't revenge, not yet. It was air, the first breath after years underwater. I started small. I stopped reminding Vera about her appointments. I cooked for myself, using the small pan, not the big one we'd shared. She noticed, hovering with half-sincere smiles, commenting on my clothes like she could play the doting mother. One morning, she brought burnt toast and oversteeped tea to my door. I figured you'd be tired, she said, her voice soft, like she could erase her birthday toast. You mean your birthday? I asked, my tone even. She blinked, waving a hand. Oh, come on, Marin. It was a joke. I was tipsy. I nodded, but didn't let her in. At the bank, the manager's face tightened as she scrolled through my account. Someone's been transferring funds, she said. Small amounts, but consistent. Over $6,000 this year. I didn't need to ask who. That evening, I found Vera folding towels in the laundry room, her expression tired, like she was the victim. I saw the withdrawals, I said. She straightened, dropping a towel. You're overreacting. It was for things we needed, repairs, prescriptions, your car. You never asked, I said. She snapped. You always said we're in this together. God, Marin, you're being so selfish. I stared at her. Selfish. I repeated. Her voice rose, accusing, but I walked away, locking my door not out of fear, but to mark a line I didn't need to explain. A letter arrived soon after, plain envelope, no return address. I recognized the handwriting. Mrs. Darnell, the neighbor who waved but never lingered. Dear Marin, it read, I've watched from my window for a long time. Not to be nosy, just to bear witness. I've seen what you've carried, what you've given, the way you disappear to make others comfortable. You are not invisible, Marin. And you are not wrong. My eyes stung, not from pain, but from being seen without asking. I tucked the letter into my journal, next to the torn page. It didn't fix anything, but it steadied me. I met Tomas Reyes the next day. His office smelled of cedar, its walls lined with certificates. You don't need a war, he said. You need a boundary that holds. We signed papers, freezing accounts, updating the deed, revising my will. I hesitated only once before signing the final form. Outside, rain began to fall. Vera noticed the shift. She moved through the house with heavy footsteps, slamming doors, opening drawers with sharp intent. My phone buzzed with voicemails and texts. Rachel, neighbors, Lori. You're being cruel, Lori said. I let the messages pile up, unanswered. Vera banged on my door one morning. You've made your point, she snapped. Now undo it. I opened the door just enough. It's not a game, Vera. There's nothing to undo. She stared, incredulous. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but at least this regret will be mine. I shut the door and locked it. 2 days later, a notarized notice arrived. Official, irreversible. By the end of the week, Vera was gone. I heard her dragging luggage across the floor at dawn, her voice muttering as a car idled outside. The door slammed, and the house went quiet. I started slowly. I hung a painting of wildflowers above the fireplace, changed the hallway bulbs to warm light, spread my grandmother's quilt over the couch. I opened every window, letting the air carry her scent away. I found an old tea tin sheet called Clutter and brewed a cup, drinking it on the porch as the sun dipped low. I didn't cry. I felt a calm I barely recognized, like coming home to myself. I signed up for an art class at the community center. The room smelled of pencil shavings and turpentine, warm and unassuming. The instructor, Callie, said, "We're not here to be good. We're here to begin." I hadn't drawn since I was 22, but my hand remembered. By the second class, I was drawing for myself, not for approval. Charcoal smudged my fingers, and I laughed at a stranger's quiet joke, surprised by the sound of my own voice. One evening, the phone rang. Vera's voice, hollow and soft. "Marin, it's me. I'm not well. The doctors found something." She paused, waiting. "The kids miss you. We all do." That word, "we," stung like a barb. "I'm sorry," she added. "I said things I didn't mean. This house doesn't feel right without you." I looked at the daisy sketch on my wall, its light shifting with the hours. "I'm glad the kids are well," I said. "I hope you're getting the care you need." She pushed. "Can we talk? Maybe come by." I closed my eyes. "I can't go back to being small so you can feel big," I said. She exhaled, wounded or angry. I didn't care which. "So that's it?" she asked. "That's it," I said. She hung up. I didn't cry. I just breathed. The next morning, I planted lavender and sage in the garden, each seedling a promise. 2 girls from the neighborhood brought a basket of muffins, their mother's note saying my garden made her feel brave. I carried the basket inside, the scent of cinnamon and apple filling the kitchen. That night, I wrote in my journal. I thought disappearing would break me. But maybe I was never meant to be seen by them. Maybe I was meant to see myself. This wasn't about hurting Vera. It was about reclaiming what was mine, my home, my choices, my life. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet act of locking a door, signing a paper, or planting a seed. It's choosing yourself when no one else will. If this story hit you in the feels, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Subscribe for more epic Reddit revenge stories, and let's keep the conversation going.